Hello and welcome to Freedom Through Astrology, where we're giving you the keys. It's freedomthroughastrology.com. I'm your astrologer. My name is Donald Patak. There's my contact information. Standard YouTube copyright. No, my content may not be used ever to train AI LLMs. Not paying me, you don't need it. Keys to the reading, part one, because I do read astrology differently. Number one, I use what's called constellation-based astrology, also known as true sidereal. This is astrology by the visible sky. In ancient times, astrologers were astronomers. So as an astronomer, I read the visible sky. My software is set up to use the visible sky, and then I interpret it. Tropical astrology froze the sky back in ancient Rome. I'm not living in ancient Rome. Neither are you. My cats seem to think we are. So I'm using the visible sky as an astronomer would see it and then interpreting that. Secondly, in using the visible sky, there are 13 signs. Between Scorpio and Sagittarius is the sign of a fucus, or a small portion of it. The symbol is of a person holding a snake by the head and the tail. The snake in ancient times symbolized knowledge. So this is a person learning how to use and control knowledge. And according to the various mythos, the person was injured. The gods taught them how to use knowledge to heal themselves so that they could eventually heal others. So ideally, this is the sign of the wounded healer. Excuse me one moment. And with the visible sky, I'm using the natural size of the constellations. They are all different sizes. Virgo is huge at just under 50 degrees. Aries barely hits 25. All the constellations are different sizes. Again, check any star watching app. It'll confirm it. So my constellations, all different sizes. There are some that try to make them all the same size. Doesn't occur that way in Mother Nature. And finally, I use astrological midpoints. Athens Chimenti noted that the IAU boundaries are arbitrarily drawn and can push stars from one constellation into a completely different one. He made an example of this with the stars from Scorpio being shoved into a fucus. So what Athens did was he looked at the zodiac belt, last bright star of one constellation, first bright star of the next, what's the halfway point? And he did that with all the constellations. I think it works better. Actually, I believe it works better. Keys to the reading, part two. I interpret using evolutionary astrology, which says these are lessons to learn. You have freedom of choice. You can decide how you're going to work with these planetary transits. There's the ideal outcome, and then there's what I call the shadow reading. And the universe, according to the universe, the divine, whatever, when you were created and sent down here, you were given freedom of choice. I honor that freedom of choice. This is the weekly edition, so everybody is facing these. These are universal lessons for everyone. So do have some compassion on your fellow Earth travelers, as some people are going to have a harder time with some of these transits. Date and time is based on the Eastern U.S. time zone, as I am outside of Buffalo, New York. I'm operating within 1 degree of exact. Anything more than that, I get overwhelmed. And there's some weeks where you don't want that. We had one a couple of weeks ago. I got overwhelmed, and if I'm overwhelmed, you're completely lost. So within 1 degree keeps it manageable. It's when it's going to be most intense as well. The software that I use is Capricorn by Prometheus, and all interpretations are my own. I have my wonderful notebook, which I write everything out in, and then I give you my interpretation. I use no AI. There are astrologers now who are using AI in their interpretations. I refuse to. I think the human spirit is greater than any computer ever will be. And these are the weekly transits for the week of July 6th through 12, 2026. This is just an overview of some major information. The sun is in Gemini. The moon, excuse me, Begins the week in Pisces and will end in Gemini. So this is setting us up for next new moon. Can't remember whether it's going to be. Deal with it. We will have the last quarter moon phase in Pisces on July 7th at 4:44 p.m. Eastern Time. Numerologists can have a little fun with that. We have two very active planets this week, Venus and Uranus. So one inner, 1 hour, outer planet. No sign changes this week. Everybody's staying put. However, we do have a number of powerful long transits that we are dealing with and adding to. First of all, we have the Neptune Pluto, Uranus Neptune, and Uranus Pluto triangle. These three are going to be going on for quite some time. These are the three outermost planets. They go very slow. They're also known as the generational planets. These are very powerful lessons for you to learn about your individuality, your spirituality, and how that all impacts your ability to transform, heal, change, etc. And finally, we'll be adding Chiron and the South Node. That will be beginning this week, and then we'll be adding the North Node shortly. And finally, in our retrograde parade, we have a new addition this week. Mercury has been retrograde. We're adding Neptune retrograde early in the week, and we still have Pluto working retrograde. So let's look at our chart for the week. Whoops. Sorry about that. One doodle tool. Just out of the way. And as I always start, this dotted line, everything above this line is from last week. Everything below the line is new this week. I'm going to start as I always do with it, which is with the moon. I want to change that color. There we go. And we do start with the moon in Pisces. And that will go Monday, Tuesday, into Wednesday. And the moon is steady this week, actually. It's just Pisces to Aries, Aries into Taurus on Friday morning, and then Taurus doesn't change until Gemini until later in the day on Sunday. So the moon is very steady and stable. This is emotional stability this week. We're looking for inspiration, courage, and then calming. So there's that. And if we're looking at our overall week, we do have one transit that begins on Monday, Tuesday, and goes into Wednesday, but the bulk of the action earlier in the week is going to be these transits here ending. Actually, let me clear this out. I don't like the way I drew that. Is this first cluster of transits ending? So we do have a number of endings in addition to Neptune mooning retrograde. And on Tuesday, we will have that last quarter moon in Pisces. So the beginning of the week is a time of endings. Monday, Tuesday, we get into Wednesday. And Wednesday on, we still have these long outer planet transits. Wednesday on, we do get this crescendo that builds. It starts slowly with a number of Venusian transits. So that's like the first 3 transits of the week are all involving Venus. We do get the Sun and Chiron stepping in, but again, we get another Venus transit. So when I look over here, again, you have these 3 Venus transits, and we're adding in a 4th right there. And then in addition, here we have the 2 Uranian transits. All things being equal, we do have Uranus being hit by Venus as well. But the beginning of the week really is a time of endings and some changes. And then the later part of the week is where we get the new transits and our crescendo of things building. And anything else I want to say about this? Oh, I'll get to that. Okay, let me close this out, clear this, clear all drawings, close, escape. Oh, come on, you can do this. It worked in rehearsal. Honestly, it did. There we go. And then I'm going to jump here. And my finger is still It is getting much better. I'm actually able to close my hand now. It's just if I use the finger too much, it gets numb. I've gotten a wrestling match with my one cat and lost pretty badly. So let's begin with our long continuing transits before we jump into our transits that are ending. So we do have Neptune in a sextile to Pluto retrograde. Neptune's going to be moving retrograde. So this whole process now here is going to be a time of reflection and internal work. Neptune in Pisces, don't just do something. Be there, be present. Are you present? Are you being spiritually aware, spiritually present? Are you paying attention to that part of the world around you? And that is creating an interest in Pluto. It will be right. Pluto is retrograde in Capricorn, and Pluto is about healing and transformation. You know, facing the deep wounds of your soul, healing them and transforming them. And in Capricorn, that's doing the hard work. It's climbing that mountain. Capricorn is known as the sea goat. It's half seal, half goat, and anything that sea starts as spiritual inspiration, and then the goat is about making it reality. So this is taking the spiritual inspiration and turning it into reality. So how is your spirituality helping you in the process of healing and healing these deep soul wounds and transforming them and healing them? So that's part one, and that'll be a time of reflection. The shadow here is the shadow of Neptune in Pisces is trying to escape and numb the pain of life and the feelings of emptiness. And this creates a sense of nervousness. Pluto in Capricorn is about cynicism, pessimism, nihilism. If it can go wrong, it will. Murphy's Law on steroids. And in Capricorn, this is loneliness, isolation, time serving, feeling like you're caught up in a prison. So this is really you're being lost and locked up in a prison of your own making. It's a fantastical prison. Secondly, we do have Uranus in Taurus in a sextile. Put that here. To Neptune. And Uranus is about you becoming an authentic individual, you learning to be true to who you really are. And in Pisces, it's finding the peace and strength that comes from that. And how is that creating an interest in your spirituality? And as I said, Neptune will be going retrograde. So this is reflecting on your spirituality, reflecting on what you're learning, what you're doing, what can you change, how can you change it, and doing that inner work. The shadow here, Uranus, instead of being authentic, sells itself out or acts out. So it's giving your identity away to the expectations of others. In Taurus, it's either out of laziness, because you're looking for the easy way out, or you're just out to push people's buttons. And I call that being the bull in the china shop. Something's going to get broke. And again, that sextile is nervousness, and that fuels a desire to escape. You're living in some sort of fantasy, and it leads you into living a delusion about who you are not. And then finally, we have this Uranus in a trine to Pluto. So that's this here. And like I said, Uranus is about individuality, and you're finding the peace and strength that comes with that. And a trine is a support. It's an easy energy. A little bit goes a long way. How does your being at peace with who you really are and finding the strength that comes with that support the work and the inner work of healing and transformation? So literally you're addressing some sort of wound here that you being authentic to yourself can help heal. The shadow here, Uranus, again, selling yourself out, giving yourself away, giving your identity away to the expectations of others, whether it's the pointless rebel or becoming what I call the suit. You know what? I'm a librarian. All librarians have to have that shortcut hair, and we dress a certain way, we act, etc. Not happening. But you're selling your identity out to the expectations of others, and that leads to a slippery that creates a big mess fast, and that, instead of leading to healing, leads to a deeper wounding of the soul, deeper wounding of yourself, and fuels loneliness, isolation, cynicism, and nihilism. So there's that part. Now let's clear this out. Those are the long jet transits, and like I said, those are the generational planets. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are all generational planets. When you look at, if you're looking at a birth chart, people born in certain times all will have them together, versus like the inner planets, Sun through Mars, even Jupiter, and potentially Saturn. They tend to be more, a little bit more variance there. Well, Jupiter and Saturn can be a little bit tighter, but nonetheless. Let's look at what's ending this week. We have Jupiter in Cancer in a square to Chiron, and I butchered this one last week. My apologies. So Jupiter in Cancer, Jupiter is about opportunity and taking the opportunity to Cancer. Nurture yourself, take a rest. Cancer can also be about healing, emotional healing. It's ruled by the moon. So, but it's about nurturing and caring for yourself, taking that rest, taking that break, and taking that opportunity. And in a square, squares are challenges whose purpose is to strengthen you. Think of the weightlifter that only picked up 2.5-pound bars. Are they ever going to build muscle? No, might build tone, but no real muscle. So this is about picking up the heavier weight so you pick up muscle. So this is a challenge whose purpose is to strengthen you, and it's strengthening what? Your ability to heal and release wounds. Also, your Chiron is about healing and releasing wounds. And in Pisces, it kind of that reinforces the releasing. It's also about rising up and seeing these wounds, understanding them from a higher or different perspective, which can also help you to heal and release them as well. So that's the ideal, is taking, through the opportunity to rest can help you heal. The shadow here, Jupiter goes into a crisis of confidence, and this can be overconfidence or underconfidence. In Cancer, it can be defensive, it can be snippy, it can try to be invisible. And when you're falling into that in a square, the shadow of a square is a stumbling block or a crushing burden. And when you're in that crisis of confidence and you're being defensive and trying to hide away or sniping at people, that leads to a further wounding of the self. And instead of healing, you're trying to healing the wound, you're just trying to numb the pain, the wounds or the pains of life at this moment, and possibly even wounding yourself and others more deeply. The old saying there being, misery loves company. We do have Mars in a sextile to Neptune. I'll put this over here. Mars is having courage, learning to have courage and assertiveness in Taurus, to calm down and take the break, to be at peace. You have the right to have a day off from work and to chill out and relax. So that's standing up for your right to have a moment of peace in your life and to take that break. And a sextile is a sense of excitement or interest, and that is feeding Neptune. Neptune in Pisces, like I said, is about learning to be present. Don't just do something, be there, be aware. So that's, as you're calming yourself down, that creates an interest in your spiritual awareness and your ability to be aware and present in this moment. Now, the shadow here, Mars falls into fear, and that can come around as anger. It can come across as fear or cowardice. And in Taurus, it's just being lazy, stubborn. I also call it the bull in the china shop. I work, like I tell people many times, I used to work on a farm. And if that bull's sitting quietly in the field, no problems, do what you're doing. The minute it gets up and it starts walking around or running around, get out. Bulls are dangerous animals. And when the temper of Mars is going, get out. And that creates a sense of nervousness. And instead of living in the real world and being aware and present, you're falling into some fantasy which does not exist. And this can really create this fuels a desire to escape, um, and get lost in illusions of your own design. So fears fuel nervousness and a desire to escape your own imaginary fears here. Let's see. We also have, oh, I could have left that up. I got to remember that. Mars in a trine to Pluto. And again, as you're having the courage to take your break, how is that trine? Supporting Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. The ability to reflect on and do the internal work of healing and transformation. So that courage to be at peace can be and fuel a deep healing experience to the wounds of the soul. The shadow, that fear-driven anger, fear-driven, stubborn, narrow-minded, stuck in a rut process, creates a slippery slope downhill. Trines are easy energies, and a little bit of energy goes a long way, and it can go the wrong way. And instead of creating something good, it can create a bigger problem, and that fuels a deeper wounding of the soul, cynicism, nihilism, pessimism, and all that has you feeling lonely and isolated. You can feel like you're living in darkness as well. Okay, now I can clear this out. And then finally, we have the sun in Gemini. Double check this one. I screwed this one up last week as well, I think. In a square to Saturn in Pisces. Sun in Gemini. Sun is and I'm here and I'll say this 10,000 times. The sun is your ego, and you came here to learn how to have a healthy ego. So you're learning about yourself, and how are you communicating that with the world? How are you paying attention to yourself in the world? Like I said, a square is a challenge designed to strengthen you. And the result or the outcome is Saturn in Pisces. And how is that strengthening your spiritual growth and your spiritual maturity? So as you're becoming more aware of who you are and how you're sharing that information, that can strengthen your spiritual growth, your spiritual maturity. I could also say your spiritual presence. The shadow is you're falling into that false ego, and this is where you can step into that stereotype. Do look at your natal sun sign for this, because that's what you're learning about. For example, I'll use myself as the example. I'm a Taurus, so with the sun in Gemini, I am learning about what it means. What is a Taurus really like, and how am I sharing what it's like to be a Taurus sun? So the shadow here is that false ego that we're all well aware of, that egotistical jerk that wants to shine too brightly, or the other side of the coin, look at that dark star that doesn't want to be seen at all. We all know those people who can really know what they're talking about and doing, that don't want to be seen, and they try to hide away in the back of the room so they don't have to have attention drawn to them. So that's the false ego, and it's nervous, it's talking a lot, it's not paying attention, and that it leads to the challenge that square is now a stumbling block and a crushing burden, and that fuels Saturn in Pisces. The shadow of Saturn is that pessimistic self. It can be the control freak. In Pisces, it's about spirituality. So you're that know-it-all that's trying to tell everybody else how to run their spiritual lives when you can't manage your own. What else did I have here? Yeah, it fuels fears based on illusion, crushing, and fuels feelings of failure or despair. That's the other dark side of Saturn. Saturn, the shadow of Saturn, can be feelings of despair and failure. Got everyone there. Last but not least, I can cover this very quickly. we do have the moon right here in Pisces. Moon in Pisces. The moon is your emotional self. I also like to refer to that as your soul. I do think it's what it represents. And in Pisces, we're now in the waning phase. We're letting what used to inspire you in the past is no longer doing that. You're looking for something new to inspire you, to get you up and going and moving. So you're looking for a fresh vision and inspiration that can help you with your spiritual growth. The shadow here is, instead of stepping out into the world and looking for that inspiration, you withdraw from the life, getting lost in self-generated illusions, living some sort of idle fantasy that really gets you going nowhere fast. Okay, let's clear this out. Okay, I'm going to close this. Okay, so we begin on Monday. Very powerful transit here. We do have Neptune moving retrograde in Pisces. So, like I said, Neptune represents to me the spiritual self and your spirituality, your ability to be spiritually present and aware in this moment. And now you're reflecting on that. You're also reflecting on the higher purpose in your life. And are you taking those opportunities just to be present and be aware and be in this moment? The shadow is withdrawing from life and engaging in escapist fantasies, or even trying to hide away from what's going on in your world, numbing yourself to the pain through whatever means you use. Close enough for government work. We have the first quarter moon on Tuesday. And that is the sun being squared by the moon. And that's the triggering event here, is the moon falling into that square. So if you said the moon in Pisces is seeking inspiration. And as it finds this, this is challenging and strengthening your ability to learn about yourself, learn who you are at heart, and be able to communicate that self with others. And yeah, inspiration and fresh ideas can strengthen your knowledge about who you are, and be open to the unexpected. Gemini loves surprises. So be open to that unexpected insight. The shadow here is falling into that illusion or delusion or trying to hide away from life. And square, I said, was a stumbling block or a crushing burden. Instead of that, helping you to learn about who you are. You're the know-it-all. You can't teach me anything. I don't want to learn about that. Talking too much, not paying attention. And instead of you learning about who you are, you're getting lost in someone that you are not. You're getting lost in that illusion. Oops. And Wednesday, I want to make sure I'm there. There we go. Wednesday evening, late Wednesday evening, the moon enters Aries. Like I said, that moon is your emotional self. In Aries, you're looking to become more bold, more fearless, having courage and assertiveness, and learning to assert yourself and take on challenges or any competition that comes your way. You know, you're up and you're emotionally, you're up and ready for a challenge and to be able to stand up for yourself. The shadow here, the moon, the emotional self, sets into fear. And like I said, that can come out as anger, that can come out as cowardice. And you can act out that way and acting out emotionally in fear, whether that's trying to hide away or you're just explosive anger. And let's close this out. There we go. Oops. And Thursday, here we go. I'm going to jump here. We begin a large number of Venus transits here. Like I said, Venus is our planet of the week that's having the most influence. Four transits here. Our first one here And we have Venus, oh, well, in Leo. So Venus is about relationships. And in Leo, you're willing to step up, stand out, and be seen by other people. So if you're looking to make new friends, good time to do it. Venus for me also governs the arts. So it's you learning to share your artistic talents and abilities. And this can be like the physical, various physical mediums or digital mediums, not AI. AI has nothing to do with art. Believe me, I heard an art class have a discussion on this, and these kids pour hours into what they're doing. And any one of them will tell you, sitting down and writing a sentence and having a computer do something for you, that's not art. That's garbage. Okay, editorial comments aside, but it's that artistic, it's the physical arts. It can also be music. And that is in a trine to Chiron in Pisces. Yes, Chiron is in the last degrees of Pisces. I was looking at this and I jumped to the end of the week and at midnight at the end of the week to see does any planet change signs? And Chiron is just so stinking close here. um, but we do have this trine to Chiron. And as I said, a trine is an easy energy to work with. A little bit goes a long way. It's a support. It's in its way strengthening, but it's an easy, like I said, it's an easy energy. And Chiron is about healing and releasing wounds. And in Pisces, it's about releasing spiritual wounds. It's also about being able to understand wounds from a higher perspective. So as you're stepping up, standing out, being seen, meeting new people, sharing your artistic abilities, and last but not least, I'd like to talk about this. Venus is about chilling out and taking a break. In my one astrology book, it does bring that up. That is, Venus is just about taking a break, chilling out, and having fun. So if you want to see how you can be playful, you can look at Jupiter, but I would also look at Venus. Um, so how is that reaching out to other people and being seen? Leo wants to be seen and appreciated. Being appreciated for who you are in your relationships, being appreciated for your artistic abilities, being appreciated for being a fun person to be around. How does this support the healing and releasing of wounds, in particular spiritual wounds? I think this transit of Chiron has been a very long transit at that, is about healing and releasing spiritual wounds. So how is all that healing, releasing these spiritual wounds? This shadow, Venus can be very slick and manipulative. This is that control freak in a different type of way. Saturn is that hard-nosed boss, do it because I told you to. Venus is more slick, manipulative, underhanded. Gee, if you really were my friend, you would. My friends do this type of stuff. Oh, if you want to be in the in crowd, dress the way we dress, like the music we like, dig the art that we dig. It's kind of that underhanded, backhanded stuff. Really dirty, if you ask me. But it's the fake artist. Literally, anyone can draw a stick figure. Or in the terms of rest and recreation, instead of chilling out, staying home, bowl of popcorn or watching a movie, spend all night at a bar, drinking it up. If you don't smoke, lighten up a few and coughing your lungs out, and going to work the next day hungover, not doing yourself or anyone any favors. In Leo, it's childish egocentricity, acting up and acting out for the world to see. Hey, everybody, pay attention to me. Or it's that person who's trying to hide away, doesn't want to be seen. Yeah, they're a great artist, but it's all sitting at home in their studio, not being shared with anyone. Yeah, this person's a really warm, frightening personality, but they don't ever get out of they stay hiding away. No point. And what is that fuel? That fuels in Chiron and Pisces, that's wounding. And you're just trying to find a way to numb the pain, isolate it, hide it, or escape and live in some sort of fantasy that you really are with a cool crowd and you really are the in person. Okay, now let me clear this out. I'm gonna do Fridays. Whoops. a little out of order just because it's going to make a little bit better sense this way. First, I do want to talk about the moon in Taurus. Moon in Taurus is chilling out and taking a break. Time to calm down and rest. Onyx, what's going on? Oh, he's got a scratch. Onyx was named, I think the gentleman's name is, I'm pronouncing it right, he pronounces it as Wit. That's how that name was picked. He's all black. He does have a little white mark on him on his belly, like a little tuxedo mark just in the wrong place. It's right over his belly button. But nonetheless, moon's in Taurus. Time to calm down, relax. Sit down and scratch your pets. Spend time with your pets, just lying down, chilling out. Calm down. Ground yourself in your own values. Take time, peace, and quiet. If the weather's nice, go outside. There you go, buddy. Be with the wild animals, like this little guy here. This is Onyx. There you go, buddy. He's got a nice purr, too. The shadow here is Taurus can get stuck in a stubborn attitude and stuck in a rut consistency that leaves you feeling trapped. All right? Okay, buddy, putting you down on my lap. And that was your kid commercial. Close this out. Now, I'm doing this out of order because these two transits do happen and the moon changes signs in between them. And it's Venus and the nodes of the moon. In the order that they happen, I actually have it opposite on my type up. So first of all, we'll have Venus conjunct the South Node. Now, the South Node in its ideal is pointing out past patterns of self-sabotage or past patterns of problems that you've had to bring it to your awareness so that you can change it. Ideally, like for example, you've had problems with relationships. What's the problems with the relationships? It's making you aware of them so that you can change them. In Leo, it's going to be done in public. So Leo likes to be seen and appreciated. Hey, you know what? Everybody's telling jokes. I like to dominate and tell all the jokes. You know what? I'm going to tell one joke. I'll use myself as an example because I do like to tell jokes. I'm going to tell just one joke and say, hey, somebody else tell a joke. And instead of trying to be the comedian that controls the group, give the power away. Let other people be seen and let everybody else share their favorite joke. So it's pointing out past relationship problems that people are publicly aware of. And it's going to help you change your public image of who you are in your relationships. Also, with the art, the creativity. Yeah, you know what? I was emulating that artist. And I learned this from that artist, and this is how it helped me grow and become a better artist. Or, you know what? I was doing all that stuff because other people had fun and I wanted to fit in with them. I discovered I didn't enjoy doing that. I really found out I enjoyed doing this, and this helped me relax and recreate and recreate and have fun. So ideally, the South Node is pointing out problems that you've had in relationships, creativity, and resting. And your solution is in the North Node. Now it's in an opposition, so this is a time of reflection. North Node in Aquarius. This is your solution to your South Node problems. How is your destiny or purpose of this moment? How is learning to be more authentic and learning to be who you really are the solution to the situation you're in? I don't need to always be the joker of the party and telling jokes and pulling pranks. I can, leave everybody's like, oh God, what terrible joke is he going to tell? What prank is he going to pull? Hey, we were at the party and he was playing games and having fun and didn't ruin it with some stupid joke or playing a prank on someone. This was awesome. Again, using myself as an example here. So learn to be more authentic. You know what? I learned, I don't always like having to play jokes or, tell jokes or play pranks for people. My authentic self likes to do this instead. So you're learning to be your more authentic self. A good thing here is to look at where your south node is and north node is in your birth chart, because that's going to help you learn the authentic lesson. And I'll use myself as a lesson as an example here. My north node's in Pisces, so I'm here more authentic for me. How can I be more authentic spiritually? How can I be more authentic being aware and being present? What does that look like for me? And my south node in Virgo, how can I stop trying to own and control and plan and be a planning freak and just learn to go with the flow and just be out, be seen, be appreciated? So that's ideal. The shadow, so you're giving up that childish egocentricity to become a more authentic person. The shadow here is, like I said, Venus in Leo is that slick, manipulative person. And in this, with the South Node, those are all the bad habits coming out. And in Leo, you're reliving the past. You're reliving past problems out on the world, on the stage for all the world to see. So reliving past patterns, past problems, and how does that ruin relationships, destroy your ability to be creative, and leave you feeling exhausted and drained? And opposition to the North Node, instead of this being a time of balancing, this is a time of imbalance and a power struggle. So the North Node in Aquarius, instead of you fulfilling your destiny, you're denying your destiny, you're letting other people define it for you, you're acting out, acting up, and acting out. And if that fuels that egocentric attitude, it really will, honestly. Acting up, acting out, selling out to the expectations of others, reliving what other people expect you to do, or selling yourself out and giving in to what other people expect you to do. And that leads to power struggles and imbalances that undermines your life destiny and purpose. It's just a big bad mess fast. Clear all drawings here. Friday. So that's that. And then we get into Sunday. I'm just going to pump that up to the end in order to get all three transits here easier. Okay, first transit we're going to talk about. Sun is conjunct Mercury retrograde in Gemini. Mercury retrograde, you are reflecting on your learning and communication. What are you learning? How are you learning it? How are you communicating it? And with the Sun conjunction here, this is a spotlight. What are you learning about yourself and how are you sharing that? So it's that time of reflection here as you pass over that. And is what you're learning, is this helping you understand yourself more deeply? Because you can't share other people what you know and learning if you don't understand it yourself. So do you understand what you're learning? And then are you communicating that clearly? The shadow here is that false ego, being in control, being a know-it-all. You can't teach me anything. I know it already. And you're just endlessly talking. Mercury and Gemini can be very nervous. There's endless talking about yourself and that false ego, or not wanting to talk at all, or not wanting to be seen in that respect. And this can have you defining yourself by rigid and narrow-minded ideas. So there's part one. Part two, we have Venus in Leo squaring Uranus in Taurus. So Venus in Leo, we talked about, you're putting yourself out there with your relationships, your creativity, you're taking a rest and having fun. How are you being seen by others? Do you feel appreciated? Are you being seen? And like I said, with the square, this is a challenge. And how is that strengthening you being at peace with your authentic self? Man, how is that strengthening your ability to be at peace with your authentic self? And how is that helping you become a stronger version of your authentic self? Yeah. The shadow here is being that shallow and superficial person, that also ego wanting, either standing out, everybody look at me because I said so, that fake art, or that just partying like it's 1999, even though it's 2026, living in dissipation, so to speak. And that leads to a stumbling block. The square is a stumbling block or a crushing burden. And what are you crushing? Your independence, your authentic self. You're selling yourself out to these expectations of others. Yeah, there they go, trying to control people again. Or more fake art. They're not, they're better when they do this, but they don't want to do that because that's not the in thing, or can't believe they're doing that, or whatever it is. This leads to you selling yourself out, giving your power away. You're not becoming more authentic, you're becoming more fake, and you're being very stubborn about it. Can be a little fight driven. Again, I always say Taurus can be lazy, and it can be that bull in a china shop. So there we go. So this being fake in your relationships, creativity, leads to a stumbling and crushes your individuality and your authentic self. Let's clear this all out. And finally, we have Chiron in Pisces in a trine. I'm going to draw this in because it's coming in. To the south node in Leo. Now, Chiron's orbit of the sun is 50-ish years. I think it's like 50.4, something like that, but it's about 50-year orbit. The nodes of the moon's orbit, in quote, air quotes, note this, around the sun is 18.6 years. So really, this is the nodes of the moon trining, the south node of the moon trining Chiron. Okay. So as you're becoming aware of how you hold yourself back with the false ego, with that false ego, with that ego-driven self, whether you're trying to stick out like a sore thumb for everybody to see, or you're trying to hide away because you don't want to be seen. As you're becoming aware of how you hold yourself back with that false ego and that childish egocentricity, how does that support? A trine is to support the healing and releasing of wounds. And like I said, Pisces, I'm going to say spiritual wounds. So as you're becoming aware of this childish ego, it's like, hey, I can change this. I don't have to act this way. I don't have to live this way. How is this helping you in this, like I said, trines and easy energy, heal and release these spiritual wounds? And how can that become a healing experience for you? And that can also be releasing the dramas of the past. What else do I have here? Also supports the understanding of the wounds and situations from a higher perspective. Oh, geez, this is why I was doing it. And now I'm ready to heal and release these wounds. The shadow here is that childish egocentricity takes center stage, whether you're acting out for all the world to see or you're trying to hide away and not be seen. This fuels deeper wounding. And you're trying to escape the pain, numb the pain, or even wound others in the process. Misery loves company. So yeah, and this is what I wrote here: trying to escape the wounds of life by denying or numbing yourself to them reinforces the ego-driven dramas of the past. And then this is something my friend Suzanne says all the time: hurt people hurt people. So you're hurting other people. In this situation, the shadow here, you're hurting people deeply on the public stage, and all the world gets to see it. And that's where we end our week. Let me clear this, clear all drawings, close that out, minimize, maximize. All right. And again, I do appreciate the feedback people have given me on my my forecasts here. I do appreciate the feedback, whether it's posted on the YouTube or some people have emailed me or sent me messages by Facebook and Instagram. I do appreciate all the feedback. And I am on social media, Facebook, Instagram. You're watching this on YouTube. And like I say, these three are making billions of dollars off your data, and you're not getting much of any of it. And I'm happy to announce that the digital soul space is transitioning from a fee-based model to a donation-based model. Kit, what is going on? Kit's weaning for kittens. They're not liking it. So digital soul space is going to be transitioning from a fee-based model to a donation-based model. It is free. Sign up, go on, enjoy yourself on there. It's the spiritual safe space of the internet. No advertising, no trolls. 4 great monitors. Oh God, I can't remember what I always called them. 4 great people who supervise the site. And get the trolls out before they even get a chance. And it's going to be run on donations. Periodical Michael Robert, who does all the work for free. The past 5 years, he hasn't received a penny, and he's put a lot of his own money into this site. He's turning it into a fee, asking people for donations, kind of like PBS. Hey, you like it? Pitch a couple of bucks. Found a way to do that so that people aren't being overwhelmed by costs. So it's going to be free, but he's going to ask periodically for donations. I do astrology on there. There are other astrologers too, but there's tarot, wide variety of oracle cards and oracle decks that people talk about, crystals, herbalism, many different spiritual traditions. I call it the spiritual safe space of the internet. You got a question, ask, people will give answers. It's just a great space to hang out and be with people. Like I said, it's the troll-free zone, so that is coming up. So if you're seeing this on, do like me and follow me on these. I do readings and packages, and I am on my summer hours, which opens up, I believe, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday afternoons from 1 to 5 o'clock. So I do offer a wide variety of readings and packages. More popular are the quick 6. If you want to see higher chart changes from tropical to true sidereal, I do that, gives you 6 key points. In evolutionary astrology, your birth chart is not who you are. It's who you came here to become. It's your birth contract. Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind. I didn't come here to be as a Taurus. I came here to learn what it means to be a healthy Taurus. So I help you to understand what your birth contract is. And then I also do what's called a karmic reading. The birth chart centers on 6 key points. The karmic or past life reading focuses on the nodes of the moon. If you believe in past lives, this is a past life where there was some karma generated that you're repeating in some way, shape, manner, or form in this lifetime so that you can heal it and release it. There are people who are one and done. This is a special lesson you came here to learn. So I can read that as well. I also do horoscopes. It's what you're watching right now. I do any 1 year, which will be 12 months in a row, any 3 months in a row, or any 1 month, 30 days. And there are people who like new moon to new moon, or first of the month to the last of the month. And I also do some packages which combine these readings in different ways. So do like, follow, and share. If you're on my website, freedomthroughastrology.com, sign up for the newsletter. All I need is an email address, and you get a once-a-week newsletter. It gets you all this information, plus additional insights. And it's the only place that I give out discounts. So if you're looking for a discount on the readings, sign up for the newsletter. You'll get them. So do like, follow, share, sign up for the newsletter. And remember, in the visible sky, your life changes. Thank you very much. Have yourself the best week possible.